The one phrase I heard most in college classrooms was the one I hated the most. All other things equal. Ceteris paribus, a clean little Latin phrase. Efficient, respectable. Used by economists, scientists, philosophers to isolate variables, to control the chaos, to test ideas in a vacuum. But here's the thing. We don't live in a vacuum. In economics, ceteris paribus lets you say, if the price goes up, demand goes down. All other things equal. In biology, if a trait gives a survival advantage, it will spread. All other things equal. In ethics, if everyone lied, society would collapse. All other things equal. But here's the problem. The other things are never equal. People don't live in thought experiments. They live in history, in culture, in bodies, in trauma, in language, in power, in love. And when you pretend those things don't matter, just to make the math easier, you don't just simplify, you distort. Ceteris paribus is seductive. It gives you a sense of certainty, a clean, controllable world, a closed circuit of cause and effect. But what happens when that model leaves the lab? When we start talking policy, identity, justice, AI, climate, God? What happens when people start mistaking the absence of truth for truth itself? That's when models become myths. And myths, if unchallenged, become machinery. Cold, automatic, inhuman machinery. That's why I built this channel, The Renaissance Spirit. I'm Scott, by the way. Nice to meet you. The Renaissance spirit isn't here to reject science, but to contextualize it, not to erase data, but to reconnect it to the soul. Because truth doesn't live in one department. It lives in the tension between them. You can't understand consciousness just with neuroscience, or power just with politics, or love just with chemicals. If you want to understand humanity, you have to study it all. Myth and math. Cosmos and culture, scripture and soil, algorithms and awe, the visible and the invisible, the measurable and the meaningful. This isn't about being a generalist. It's about being fully alive. We are in a crisis of fragmentation. Facts float without context. Wisdom drowns in data. Algorithms reward simplicity, but reality is textured. We scroll through symptoms, but we never trace the root. And the longer we treat people like test cases, the more we forget that behind every number is a name. Behind every theory, a story. Behind every variable, a life. The original Renaissance wasn't nostalgia. It was rebellion. Against dogma, against division. Against the idea that truth belonged to one kind of person. One class, one book, one model, one lab. It was the rediscovery that truth is symphonic. And the human being is not reducible. That's what this channel is. A call to think wider, to feel deeper, to remember the sacred in the secular, to speak as if the stars are listening. Because when the world tells you all other things equal, you must have the courage to say, they're not. If you feel this, if your soul resists reduction, subscribe. You're not here for hot takes. You're here for a whole view of what it means to be human. And that means art, science, ethics, metaphysics, wonder, failure, grief, and grit. Not in fragments, but in conversation. We're not building a channel. We're building a renaissance. One idea, one question, one awakening at a time. Welcome to the Renaissance spirit. Let's remember what it means to be whole. The world is not a lab, and the soul is not a variable. Live the Renaissance spirit.